Good morning, friends. I again welcome you for our next lecture on W. H. Hudson's An Introduction to the Study of Literature. In paper number 7, semester 3, we are studying An Introduction to the Study of Literature by W. H. Hudson. And in the previous lectures, we have discussed chapter number 1 and we just started chapter number 2 with the discussion of the historical study of literature. And today, after that, the second topic that we want to discuss is literature as a social product, or in other words, you can say that literature is the product of the society. Literature as a social product, that means that every literature is the product of its society. Now, this small phrase, literature as a social product, has a lot many things to say. Number one, just now I told you that every literature is the product of its society. That means what? Literature has a very close connection with the society in which it is produced. When we were discussing literature, when we were discussing the historical study of literature, at that time also I told you that one society and literature cannot be detached from each other. Because, one author who is born in one particular society, he or she cannot detach herself or himself from the society in which she or he has grown up. In a way, we are bound to our society. What we are today, we are the products of our society. Why I am so? The question is, why I am so? The answer is that I am so because of my social surroundings, because of my education, because of my society. Okay? So everyone is the product of his or her society. I want to give you a reference to T.S. Eliot. T.S. Eliot, a 20th century poet and critic, has written one critical essay, and that critical essay, the title is The Tradition and Individual Talent. We have in that particular critical essay by T.S. Eliot, we understand that every human being is not a personality in isolation. Okay? Every individual talent is somehow connected with his society. So this is what in precise we want to understand in this particular lecture today. You can see on the screen here that a writer exhibits many qualities that are common to his times. Let me explain this particular sentence. That if you see the poets who were living during Romantic Revival, 1798 to 1830, the age of Romanticism. If you read the literature produced during that particular time, you find, romantic literature by John Keats, S.T. Coleridge, William Wordsworth, P.B. Shelley, romantic literature. Why? Because they were living in that particular age, in that particular society where Romanticism was the spirit of the age. In the same manner, if you read the literature written during 16th century, Elizabethan age, then you find so many things common among most of the writers who produced literature, like William Shakespeare. There is some similarity between the tragedies of Shakespeare and the tragedies of Marlowe, because both were living during the same period. Or in other words, you can say the poetry of Tennyson is different from that of John Keats. Why there are differences between the poetry of John Keats and Alfred Tennyson? Because Tennyson was living during 19th century and John Keats was living in a different century. Okay? So both were in different ages, and that's why their literature is also different. In the same manner, we can say that every writer produces some qualities, some characteristics, some type of literature which is common to his times. And that is the reason why when we are studying one particular author, if we compare that author with his contemporaries, we will understand the author in a better manner. In one of my previous lectures, I told you that comparative method of studying literature is very helpful to the students of literature. If you want to understand light, you first of all need to understand darkness. Okay? In the same manner, if you want to understand Ezra Pound, who lived in the beginning of 20th century, you need to understand T.S. Eliot, because Eliot was also the contemporary of Ezra Pound. In the same manner, if you want to understand Christopher Marlowe, you need to understand William Shakespeare, because both were contemporaries. Okay? So it's a kind of comparison. So the first idea that William Henry Hudson wants to suggest in this chapter is that if you want to understand a particular author, then you need to study his contemporaries. Contemporaries means the writers, the authors who were living in the same period of time, in the same society. For example, we can understand Shakespeare better if we also analyze the writings of his contemporaries like Marlowe, Ben Jonson, and so many others. It may be true that because of his great personality, one particular writer would be lot different from others of his age. Okay, like if you compare William Shakespeare with Ben Jonson, then you find much difference also. But still, if you read them carefully, we will notice that these writers who belong to the same age, to the same society, to the same geographical area have so many things common in them. So, let's take another example. Let the Elizabethan dramatists have many similar qualities or characteristics among themselves. Okay. However, they are different also, because every individual author is also an individual talent. So all things are not common. Though all things are not common, still there are some common qualities, some common elements, some common characteristics which are expressed in their writings. But still, an individual talent like William Shakespeare is different from others. An individual talent like George Bernard Shaw is different from other dramatists of America. Okay, let's take another example. Like we compare the dramatists of neoclassical age, 18th century, with the poets of the romantic age. Then there are so many differences. Why? Because these ages are different, the time is different. Alexander Pope and Tennyson, who belong to two different ages, when you compare them, they appear to be very different. Why? Because they belong to different ages, to different times. One belongs to the age of Queen Anne, while the other belongs to the Victorian era. Therefore, Tennyson's poetry shows the love of nature, and Alexander Pope's poetry is highly full of satire. Tennyson's poetry shows the love of nature, however, Pope's poetry does not exhibit any such things. Alexander Pope's poetry is full of satire. So, Tennyson is different from Alexander Pope. Why? Because they fall into different ages, different periods. Okay, if you examine Pope's poetry, it focuses on town life. Okay. On the other hand, Tennyson's poetry does not talk about the town life. Both are different from each other. And that is why, some critic has rightly said that in every age there is one genius who represents his society. John Dryden is considered as the representative of his times, of his country. Christopher Marlowe is considered as the representative dramatist of the 16th century, of the Elizabethan society. T.S. Eliot is considered as the representative poet of the 20th century literature. So, why? Because he reflects the moods of joy, sorrow, hopes, doubts, struggle, aspirations of the people, ambitions of the people, dreams of the people, the conflicts felt by the people. All these things are reflected in that particular author's literature, and that's why that author becomes the representative poet or a dramatist of his times. So, why? Because he expresses the spirit of the age. His literature reflects the spirit, the sentiments, the emotions of the people living in that particular society. And that is the reason why, if you want to understand about the English-British society of the 16th century, better you read the plays of Marlowe and Shakespeare. If you want to understand the mental plight of the modern man of 20th century, you read the plays of Hemingway, you read the poetry of T.S. Eliot. Okay, so that means what? The author, one particular author, gives reflection to his society where he is living, because literature is the reflection of life and society that we have discussed earlier. Okay. So, therefore, to study the literature of an age, we have to study the writings of each separate author of that particular age. A great collection would express the common spirit, though there may be individual differences. As a literature of one age differs from that of another age, literature of one age is different from the literature of another age. Literature is connected to the history. Literature tells about the inner history of the society. Literature cannot be isolated from life, because literature reflects life and life gives birth to literature. Both are interconnected with each other. Life produces literature and literature reflects life. However, literature also gives something back to life. It makes life more rich and beautiful. Though every literature reflects life and society, but still the life which is presented in literature is presented in a beautiful manner. And that is the reason why one of the critics, like Sir Philip Sidney, said that the world is brazen, but the poets only deliver golden. The world is brazen, but the poets only deliver golden. That means what? This world is made of brass. ये दुनिया पित्तल दी है, and the poets make it golden. Okay. Why golden? Because the poets, when they copy life in their literature, when they copy the society in their literature, they add the color of imagination into that literature. The colors of imagination makes it look more beautiful, and that is the reason why in one of my previous lectures also I said that the life made by the poet in poetry or the life presented by the author in literature is more beautiful than the real life presented by God. Who created this world, this society, this life? God. God created this world. This is the God's world where we are living. But the poets also create another world of literature. Okay? And when they create their world is looking more beautiful than the God's world. That is what Acharya Mammat also said in his Kavya Prakash in Sanskrit literature. So that's why, Sir Philip Sidney rightly said that the world is brazen, but the poets only deliver golden. So there are two things that you need to keep in mind. Number one, no writer, no author is living in isolation. Every author is connected with his society in which he is living, with the time period in which he is living. There is a close connection between the author and the society. And literature is the product of society. Literature reflects that society. And that's the reason why if you want to understand this literature, you need to understand the society also. Why? Because literature is a social product. The literature which is produced during 19th century is different from that produced during 16th century. Why? Why there are differences? Because the ages are different, the societies are different, the time periods are different. And that's the reason why, we must study the society also when we are studying a piece of literature. At the same time, we must also do a kind of comparative study of the author. As just now, before some time, I gave an example that if you want to understand Marlowe, better you read Shakespeare also, because Shakespeare was a contemporary of Marlowe. Shakespeare was also living in the same society where Marlowe was living during the same period of time. Okay, so that's why, literature, in short, we can say literature is a social product. And if you want to study literature, you need to study the society, number one, and you need to study the other authors who were living during the same period in the same society. And that makes a sense when you are studying literature as a student of literature. I think the idea is clear, and if you have any doubts or questions, do let me know. Thank you. Thank you very much.